Yeah, welcome back. The topic for today is sowing seeds through stories and books. Rudolf Steiner always says that what we do with children is not for immediate benefits. It's like sowing the seeds, like a farmer. We create the fertile soil, we till the soil, we wait to sow the seed, then we wait for it to sprout, harvest, etc. So the conversations we have with children, the stories we read with children, the environment we create for children is all to ensure that the seeds we sow will eventually sprout. So some may be like immediate, like drink your milk now because the milk will make you stronger, healthier, whatever. Some could be that we need to climb the stairs to build strength and health. Some could be that we do this little bit of work so we develop it into a larger work for the benefit of the society. So, any of these, most of these, especially through stories and books that we read for children, we read with children, we fill the environment with reading materials. Will the content of that will influence the child's character, later on thinking for the entire lifetime of theirs. It is not just a pastime that we are doing now. It's definitely objective in the very early years is to develop their language, is to entertain them, um, is to have some moral embedded in it. But when will that moral be used, right? Um, Practice makes the man perfect. Now, how does the child see it? Not by listening alone. They have to see us doing it. They have to say this is the first day I make a little cup out of a play-doh, for example, doesn't come out right, so we'll do it again tomorrow. And I mean, it's not like I'll sit and do 8 hours of it, that like exhausts the child, but I will do it again tomorrow, again another day, for 8, 10, 12, 15 days continuously, a little bit at a time. So we just see if we can improvise it. And eventually, maybe in the third month, we'll be able to perfect the shape a little bit. And then we say, oh, we started practicing it and eventually I'm getting it. That is sowing the seed of practice makes the man perfect. So when you choose the books to read with children, when you select any examples that you want to share with children, life stories of yourself and your family members, the grandparents, the great grandparents that you want to tell the children, be very choosy with words. You want to give out the facts and not your opinions, especially when we are telling life stories of people around us. That will have a great impact on the child. Yes, the uncle is getting angry now, but then uncle is also helping so many people. Uncle is also working so many jobs. Uncle is also providing. I don't know what made him angry. So let's look at the pattern. Maybe he was too tired. I mean, this is like a discussion with the child. So I'm not like labeling that uncle is angry. And if the child sees this uncle being angry for 3, 5, 6, 7 times, then there will be this judgment that we form that this uncle is always angry. So don't avoid him. I used to do that with one of my uncles. He was always loud. He was not angry, but loud, and he would always tease. So I was like scared of this uncle, and I would never want to go to any place where he was around. And what I heard was this person was always like that around all children. I mean, that was the explanation the adults around me gave me. So only when I grew up, when I saw him do the same thing that he did with little children, that he did with me, and then I also saw his another personality of being very helpful, being very caring. I was like, this is a different uncle now. Did he change or was he the same person? So then my question is, should I avoid him? I mean, that was the story I had built up. Should I avoid him or should I be friendly to him? So it becomes the stories begin shaping the inner world of the children. You could pick any story. I had a friend who told me, now I have stopped reading the stories of Ramayana, Mahabharata to my children because it's full of violence. Of course, there are fights. Of course, there are people getting killed. But then, how do I interpret it? Right? It is about eliminating the bad people. And should we eliminate? How can we eliminate in this time and um, in my capacity? So maybe to my capacity, if I see somebody being evil, I should just avoid them. That is like killing the friendship or killing the relationship. Right? So again, depending on the age of the children, I need to question these myself when I'm telling the story. What is the essence of the story? What is it that I want to communicate? What is it that I want child to retain? Otherwise, we want our children to be better version of ourselves. We want them to be nice human beings. We want them to go out and help people. But the environment that growing in, the what they're sensing in the society may not be what we want them to become. And every 3 years, the child's ability to assert themselves is changing. Every 7 years, the child developmental phase changes. So, between all of these changing phases, the child is typically shifting every 6 to 8 months. Some or the other shift is always happening, they're always growing. We are too in our ideas, in our experiences, etc. But children are growing much, much faster. What will hold them rooted is the way I connect with them. I bring them back to the reality, and that is going to be through the stories, through the books, through the kind of material I read, and I also provide for them. These days I think even we have lost the reading habit, but we got to revive something. It's the experience is completely different when you hold the book in your hand and you flip the pages and you have completed so many pages and there are so many pages remaining. All of that has a very different impact on my understanding of what reading is. So typically, with the children in the first 7 years of their life, where children are learning through imitation, they watch me and they do it. They need the repetitive kind of stories, the same stories that kind of repeat. And if you have young children or if you teach young children, you may have noticed that children are never bored of a story or a rhyme. They want the same thing to come back again. It's familiarity. And familiarity instills that inner emotional security for the child. So repeating certain stories. They could be fairy tale like because children believe the world is good, so everything has to end up in something that's productive, solution oriented, something that is nice, so children can go to bed feeling safe and secure. But the story itself can have a few elements of real life. Not everything is happily ever after. There are hurdles. So, younger children, you can introduce one small hurdle of walking in the nature and a thorn pricks your feet. This is a beautiful story from Ramayana. When Rama goes on an exile, um, he crosses through all these forests and he's barefoot, and all the thorns would have poked his foot and he's bleeding and whatnot. And then he hears that Bharata is coming to see him and to convince him to take him back. And he will pray to the forest goddess, whatever path I have walked, please clear it. And the goddess is surprised. Well, you have already come. Why should that be cleared? And then uh, Rama says that it is not for me. My little brother is coming that same path. So I want the path to be clear for him. Again, the goddess will say, um, I mean, your brother is much more stronger. He's a soldier. He can brave through it. And he has not discarded footwear like you have. So no thorn will prick him. Why should I clear the path for him? Then Rama will say, I know my brother is a soldier. Is not going to be hurt by any of this. But he is so gentle that he will cry for the fact that his brother has walked this path, and he will be more hurt knowing that I was hurt walking this path. So I want you to clear this for his gentle nature so that he doesn't go back crying. So just tell the story, and you don't have to do any more elaboration on that. But when we keep repeating this story, somewhere the older brother Rama is concerned for his younger brother, not for his foot, not for the external convenience, but so he does not feel the pain that his brother went through. And child may absorb it 10 years from whenever you tell them. Maybe 20 years later, if they have a brother, I mean, could my brother be also gentle like Bharata? Could my brother cry if I go into some kind of pain? Or should I feel the pain when my brother is suffering? Many of these different things will come up. This is sowing the seeds. And similar incidents may have happened in your own family. It's not about you be good boy like Rama or good boy like Bharata. No. I mean, that's too tall of a expectation to have on the child. But then when I'm repeating these stories, the repetition itself is rhythmic. Maybe you want to tell the story before the bedtime or read the story before the bedtime. So it becomes like a daily rhythm. And then you're repeating the story. So we kind of remember through visual images. Imagination is through visuals. That's why we remember a movie better than a story that I have read. Or my story reading, the speed reduces because I'm building an image in my head. And there is also this memory technique that many experts teach. You give random 20 words to children and then ask them to repeat the same 20 words in the same order, random, right? It's very difficult because I would have not uh, imagined. But the same 20 words, if you tell a little slowly, one, and each time I say an umbrella, you visualize an umbrella. Then I say squirrel, oh, the squirrel jumped on the umbrella. And then a boy who was holding the umbrella. Then the rain, it started pouring. The rain, children will say it started pouring. So then they'll remember umbrella, squirrel, boy, rain. They'll remember in that sequential form because they would have imagined the images, the visuals. So the stories bring the visuals back. When you're telling the story of Rama, the child is visualized, maybe not on the day one, maybe not on day 10 also, but you keep telling, maybe adding a little details each day, or maybe the same story. Now, Rama is walking through the forest. There are thorns on his way. So maybe you also walk barefoot like Rama tomorrow in the park. and oh, there were no thorns. So maybe we'll take another path second day. Oh, there were no thorns. Or maybe we'll explore a little bushy area. Oh, there is a thorn, and you feel the thorn, and it pricks you, and maybe it doesn't bleed. So then, oh my God, this small thorn is picking me and it hurts. Now, what if there was a big thorn that actually pierced and Rama's feet was bleeding? Just imagination. So that creates visual thinking, that creates imagination. And this is one other tip that people these days teach when children grow up. They need to be able to predict, the situations unfolding. Maybe think 2 years ahead. This is a standard question in the interviews. What do you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Many of us don't even have an idea. Right now, I need a job, give it to me. Right? We become desperate in getting the job. But now, if I'm able to visualize, if I'm able to see how AI is bringing influences in different areas of life, and now if I'm able to predict that the schooling that I'm doing now, college I'm doing now, and we could predict for the sake of children, this is not going to help 5 years from now. So what skill I need to be developing now so it would help me 5 years from now? That's the power of imagination, extrapolation of that story. So everyone knows the cap seller story. Now, what happens to that cap seller after he collects all the caps from the monkeys and walks away? Now, at that, when you tell that to the children, do you think he will sleep under the tree next day in another town? Would he look for if there are monkeys on the tree? Would he choose to sleep or choose to sleep under that tree, or would he repeat the same mistake? Now, when he repeats the same mistake, does he have a faster solution? And none of these we need to discuss with the younger children. We just tell the story. And then, however the child interprets, will interpret it. And later on, you can allow the child to end the story or begin the story or change the story in between. Then you'll start listening to what the child has said, how they have interpreted. For example, if any child will say, all monkeys have to be killed so they don't bother the cap seller, for example. And then you know what the child is thinking. Where did he get that idea of eliminating somebody who is creating the problem? And when you look at perception, monkey is not a problem. Cap seller is also not a problem. The situations were like that. So we need to find a solution and not eliminate. Once you hear this from the child, you can change the story a little bit. It's so beautiful to have monkeys. Monkeys give joy to life. Look at the way they jump, they run, and look at the way how intelligent they are. They saw what the capsular was doing and they did the same. So then child will get another perception. So it kind of goes a very long way, because this is also a way of building the rapport with our children, understanding what our children are thinking. And the sooner we begin, the better it is in the long run. And there's a lot of situations in our own lives that keep coming up that you can knit it together as a story. And once you do that, once you start sharing your own stories, somewhere the child will feel safe to come back and tell you their stories. And that's what we actually want. That's what is a relationship. And when children grow up, and they won't hesitate to come and tell you that they failed at this project, they didn't get the raise, they lost their job, or they got an award. And not in the bragging way, but just to share the joy. Joys we typically share. Sometimes some children don't even share the joys because we kind of had a low key response to that. Oh no, that's boasting about yourself. We don't speak that. So we don't know what our own beliefs are, what our own judgments are. So we will explore a lot about ourselves, along with what children will allow the seeds that we sow them to sprout. How soon, how deep, how many. This is a great gift that we can give our children. So start sharing stories. Good luck.